Welcome to my channel, Ken here. Today let's take a tour of my studio, mostly the hardware. I'll do another video about the software and the DAW. Do all the YouTube stuff, subscribe, click the bell button, share. Let's go! Hey, let's go and check out my studio. Due to the nature of this business, meaning media composing, video games, TV, film, and so forth, we have to have these big rigs lined up, ready to go all the time. They make a lot of noise and it's not very studio friendly, so there's a solution for this. Let me show you how it works. So here's my computer closet. I'm using the Mac Cheese Grater Pro. This is the DAW. Using Nuendo, and this is what holds all the plugins and video editing, sequencers, notation, so forth and so on. This is one of the slaves that holds all the samples, especially for orchestral. Here's the other one. These orchestral templates are usually huge, so it holds a lot of samples. And they're connected via Ethernet over there, running Vienna Ensemble Pro. And there's some hard drives right there, because I have to have some samples on my front-end computer, the Mac, and my office computer. And there's some battery backups for the system, and a dedicated air conditioner. In this heat, I gotta keep these computers cool or they break down. So this is the computer closet. As you're about to see, I really dig those outboard old school analog equipment coupled with these modern plugins and sequencers and computers. Very nerdy stuff, but let me show you around my studio and see how I do it. Let's start on my left side here. On the top here is a power line conditioner and a Gyraf G14 Varimu compressor, excellent sounding compressor, tube compressor. Below it I have a passive aggressive compressor, opto compressor by Gyraf, also known as G24, good sounding vocals, strings, synths, so forth. Below that is a convenience USB plug for all the computers. Below that is the Mac DSP APB16, which is a kind of a hybrid approach, but the sound processing is all analog, but the controls all digital. So it feels like you're using a plug-in, so it recalls it and so forth and so on. There are 16 channels, mono or 8 stereo units in this one. Very high end. Below that I have my Lynx Aurora N audio interface. It is 24 analog I/O and 8 digital I/Os. So basically the 24 channels are connected to all the outboard gear, and I have my speakers connected digitally, so that uses one port. I have the torpedo digitally input and output on it, and I have the Axe effects also running digital on it, and the Bricasti. Below that I have a 108 or whatever it is, 104 patch bay, just mostly for mic pre's and tie lines to other rooms and stuff like that, and of course some of the outboard gear, so I can repatch the sequences on it. And there's a direct DI box, and that right there is a guitar synthesizer that I use on occasion. Over here is like some drum inputting and some mics over here. This is something I've assembled myself for microphone parts or mic parts. That's a tube This sounds excellent, by the way. You can save a lot of money by assembling your own mics, really. Right here is the control unit for the key speakers. You can change input, output, and you can connect stuff to it via Bluetooth or USB or whatever. And control volume, mute it, and change the input also to different computers. And there's a remote control also. Over here is a monitor switcher and a keyboard mouse switcher. There's an interface there that's a USB-C kind of thing. There's a MIDI, Motu MIDI, and the micro MIDI it's called. It's just a MIDI input-output device for good old-fashioned MIDI. That's probably one of the most reliable things ever. And there's a USB hub over there, and there's the keys, 3 speakers. And these are pretty new addition to my studio. I am very impressed so far. It's just mind-numbing how low they go in the bass for such a small speaker. Still can't wrap my head around it. Behind them you see like one of the bass traps, and there's acoustic treatment around here. I'll get back to the center console later. Over here to my right, there's a Bricasti M7. I think it's the best reverb I've heard. There's some control surfaces here. This one is the Platform Nano and the Platform M+, and this is all MIDI, by the way. I don't use those faders for anything but CCs. And that's what the numbers indicate right there. And of course there's play, stop, some key commands built into it for convenience. So over here to my right is the bulk of the outboard gear. So again, there's the Furman power line conditioner. Below that is the Kniff MicroLite tube. This thing is outstanding. I have a Neve 1073 MicroLite EQ. Below it is a Torpedo Studio. I can't believe they discontinued these things. This thing has been a workhorse for me. Below that is a Bettermaker EQ, and I can't remember what the number is. But it's also been discontinued. This is basically a 2-band EQ, parametric, and then a 2-band Pultec style EQ. And it's also completely controlled on the computer like a plugin. Below that you have a Ampete 88S, which is 8 amplifiers and 8 cabinets that I can switch between. And over here is a TubeTech RM8, which has 2 mic pre's, 2 EQs, and 2 compressors. And I have to say that this sounds pretty near what the big outboard gears they make sounds like. It is minute the difference between that, so I'm very happy I got hold of this, because this is also discontinued, unbelievably so, but that's the way things go. I have a Black Box HD2 by Analog Design. That's a tube saturator, all tube. This thing is a great analog flavor device that it just adds that analog vibe to anything. Below that is a multi-band compressor by TubeTech called the SMC2B, which I use for mastering. And below that I have the Overstayer Mass, basically 8801 it's called, I think. It is a 2-channel, also saturator. It sounds very different from the HD2. It's more subtle, but I really like it, and it adds a lot of, like, I guess, headroom and warmth, and just glues things together. It's very nice. Below that I have a 5-band EQ by Gyraf G14, or Gyraf 14. It's also very, very good. They're very neutral sounding, but with a tube analog vibe to it. Below that is the Hammer 2 by A-Design. I use that a lot on strings and synthesizers. It also has a real vibey sound to it, very nice. And below that is the Heritage Successor, which is a diode style compressor it's very nice in drums and percussion. So that's basically what I have over in the racks over here. This is an ever-changing situation, by the way, but right now that's what's in there. So I also have a M88, I think it's called, this keyboard by Native Instruments. There's a monitor switch, remote control switcher right there. There's a Nanokey 2 here, which basically extends the keyboard when I do that. 2 octaves below this 88 keyboard, mainly for key switching. And there's a TC2290 recreation of the iconic unit from the 80s. This thing is a vibey thing too. I mean, it's a guitar player's tool, I guess you can call it. I use it quite a bit for guitar and, you know, special effects, but it's really good for delays and stuff like that. Nothing sounds like it, I think. And it's very similar to the original one, so like that. But that's just the controller for the plugin. Over here is one of my racks, but I've talked about the guitar stuff in another video. I'll put a link in the description below. But that's my old touring rig, but it's been repurposed for like the Axe effects that's connected to the sequencer, so I use it as a multi-effects unit, or mostly, I would say. And over here is the rest of the guitars, but amplifiers and guitars that I use regularly, and pedals. And sometimes I'll use them in projects and use the reamp boxes to drive a pedal or something. Now, of course, you have to have air conditioning because I live in Southern California. It gets hot up here, and it can't work in here with all this gear heating it up, and you need to cool it down. So basically, I have one monitor up there that basically right now is just showing a lot of meters and stuff, but that's where a film would go, or something I have to score to. Here is my curved LG screen, extra wide, my main monitor, and down here is a monitor that is touch sensitive. So right now I have another control surface, so I can switch. So this is an orchestration pane. This is Sherlock, and I can quickly, orchestrate here with the different instrument and the samples and stuff. And here's like a composition pane with lots and lots of key commands and shortcuts and stuff, so I can work fast. And basically, with an orchestral project that I have open here, there's tons and tons and tons of tracks. These things tend to get very big and unruly, and you have to be able to control it to the best of your ability, and have some tools to help you do that. So that's basically it. I mean, there's some acoustic treatment we could talk about, but basically this room is not the best acoustically to begin with, so I had to treat it quite a bit to tame it, so to speak. By the way, there's an old rectifier up there that's not being used right now. And this is basically my studio. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, share, hit the bell. Until next time, take care.